Fatal Fury's City of the Wolves is a new fighting game developed and published by SNK and is the latest entry in the Fatal Fury series, which was a major player in the fighting game boom of the 1990s alongside iconic franchises like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. This new game is a revival of that series, with the last mainline entry, Garou Mark of the Wolves, released way back in 1999. That makes City of the Wolves the first Fatal Fury game in over 2 decades. Hi guys, I'm Tyrant, and the purpose of this video is to help new players who maybe have never played a competitive fighting game before get an idea of how to play and learn the ropes. So without further ado, let's get started. City of the Wolves is without a doubt a love letter to both Fatal Fury and Garou Mark of the Wolves, blending classic mechanics while keeping things fresh for a modern audience. As with all fighting games, strategic, precise gameplay is heavily rewarded, and if you have strong fundamentals, this is undoubtedly the game for you. But even if you just want to jump in and press some buttons with friends without learning how every single move works, you can do that too. Easy to pick up, difficult to master is absolutely the name of the game here. Iconic characters like Terry, Mai, Rock and Billy return, and we also have some new characters in Preacher and Vox. Then there are the real-life guest characters Ronaldo and Salvatore, and the crossover characters come in later on with Ken and Chun-Li from Street Fighter. The game feels like a huge return to form for SNK, and it's easy to see why people are so excited for this title. Let's take a look at some gameplay and see what we need to keep track of in City of the Wolves. Starting from the top, we have the timer. Each round this counts down from 60 seconds as default, and if both players are still alive by the time it hits 0, the player with the most life wins. Next to that, we have the round icons. By default, first to get 2 icons here wins the game. Next, we have the life bar with the character for each player. If you've ever played a fighting game before, you know exactly how this works. Deplete their health till you see KO up on the screen. You also might notice the yellow highlighted section. This is SPG, or Selective Potential Gear. Just like Mark of the Wolves' TOP system, you select a third of your life bar to attribute SPG to before the fight, and when you're in that life threshold, it will become active. The benefits of SPG include the ability to perform rev blows, an increase in attack strength, and access to your character's most powerful attack, the hidden gear. Just below the health bars we have the guard gauge. This stays blue for most of the match, and the only time you'll want to keep an eye on this is if a character goes into overheat status, which I will explain later. This will deplete if a character guards while in overheat, and once it fully depletes, it will cause a guard break and allow the opponent to land a full combo. Anytime you land a combo or utilize any of the game's built-in mechanics, you'll get a message on screen to inform you, useful at high level to identify certain attack states and what have you. Next, we have the REV Gauge, which is an integral part of City of the Wolves gameplay, which I will cover in detail shortly. Then you have your power gauge right below this, which keeps track of your super moves or ignition gears. So that's what everything on the screen means, but before we go any further, let's take a look at the controls for the game. The game uses 2 different control schemes, arcade and smart. Think of SF6's classic and modern controls. Basically, arcade controls is the same as the older titles. You have 4 attack buttons plus an additional 5th button for rev guard. Smart simplifies things by giving you a more streamlined experience with less attack buttons to worry about and built-in combo sequences and special attacks at the press of a button. Movement will be the same across both control types. This game uses 8 directions to move, defend, and jump. You can perform backdashes by double tapping away from your opponent and forward dash by double tapping towards. Like earlier SNK titles, some characters have a run by double tapping and then holding forward. You can also use short hops by tapping an upwards direction quickly, which can be useful for surprising your opponent with an aerial attack. The arcade button layout gives you access to light punch, heavy punch, light kick, heavy kick and rev guard, with additional actions you can perform by pressing multiple buttons together. You may also see the attack buttons referred to as A, B, C, D in reference to the earlier Neo Geo titles. You perform your special moves and other sequences of attacks by inputting a direction, then a punch or kick. You can check your character's move list for each individual move. Some characters also have command combos or target combos where you press a sequence of attack buttons in a row. Ignition gears or level 1 super and redline gears or level 2 super can be devastating and are performed usually by a more complex command. Unlike special moves, these are only usable when you have the right resources available. The hidden gear, which is your most powerful attack, is only available when in SPG and costs both your super gauges. This is your ultimate attack and it resets your rev gauge down to 0, so be sure to use this after a long combo or while in overheat to maximize the benefit. Yes, don't worry, I'm going to explain the rev gauge in a moment, I promise. Throws are performed by pressing both light buttons and can be great for opening up an opponent who blocks often. If the opponent knows this is coming, they can tech it by pressing throw right back. Rev blow is performed by pressing both heavy buttons. This is a powerful technique that you can only perform while SPG is active, which I'm going to be going over in more detail in just a moment. Dodge attacks are performed by pressing Rev Guard and Heavy Punch. This is a useful attack you can use to open up opponents in multiple ways. The default option is an overhead move which will also punish low attacks. Press down and dodge attack for an anti-air move, which can be useful for players who like to jump a lot. This can also be used to counter Rev Blow. Feints are performed by pressing Rev Guard and Heavy Kick. Each character has different special moves they can feint to fake out your opponent. Some of these can also be used in combos to extend, as well as keep your opponent guessing defense. There are also specials in the game which can be cancelled or braked. Simply press the Rev Guard button during the startup of these moves to cancel the move short, which can be useful for extended combos or mixing up your offense to open up your opponent. You can also use the Rev Guard button to assist with movement. Simply hold the button and press forward or back to dash or run in that direction. You can also use short hops by jumping while holding the button. I'll explain exactly what the Rev Guard button does once I explain the Rev Gauge system, so just hold on for that. The more relaxed control scheme, Smart Controls, by default are as follows: Punch, Kick, Special Move, Smart Combo, Rev Guard, Rev Blow, Throw, and Dodge Attack. I've already explained most of these, but the smart controls you need to know are as follows. Punch and kick while in neutral will use lights. Press forward while standing or crouching for heavies. Special moves are performed by holding different directions and pressing the special button. Some special moves may be missing here, like Terry's crack shoot for example, but you can still perform them by using the arcade input. The smart combo button when pressed repeatedly will perform a simple combo. This will vary depending on your character's resources available. You can also perform ignition gears and other super attacks by pressing special and smart combo together. Hidden gears are performed by pressing punch, special, and rev guard. It's very important to note that breaking and feinting special moves is not available to smart control users. These are arcade style only techniques, so if you want to be using those, you better pick arcade. Okay, so now you know what the controls do, but if you really want to learn how to win in this game, you need to learn how the rev gauge works, which is the main gameplay mechanic in City of the Wolves. The rev gauge is a meter that fills up as you fight, and it powers a set of offensive and defensive mechanics. It's a risk-reward system. The more you use it, the hotter it gets, literally. Overusing it can cause it to overheat, locking you out of rev moves temporarily until it cools down, while making you vulnerable to guard break if you defend for too long. You can lower your rev gauge in several ways, primarily by attacking with meterless options such as normals and specials. Movement is also a factor, while moving away from the opponent is less effective than moving towards them, promoting aggressive gameplay a lot more. Super moves will also lower big chunks of rev gauge, and hidden gears of course restore it to 0%.
I can do this all day.
So managing your rev gauge properly is a big part of gameplay if you want to keep an edge on your opponent. Here are the mechanics tied to the rev gauge and how you can use them. Rev Arts. Think of these as your EX special moves and are performed by pressing either 2 punches or 2 kicks depending on the special. They cost 25% of the rev gauge, and they typically deal more damage, have better properties, think faster startup, more invincibility, or better combo potential. Like I said, these are just enhanced special moves, so just think EX moves from pretty much any fighting game. You should use these in combos, to extend pressure, or to secure knockdowns. Rev Excel. This is a cancel mechanic, and it lets you cancel a rev art attack into another one, opening up creative combo routes or letting you stay aggressive. The first rev excel you use in a combo is 15%. Add the 25% for the rev art you use to start the chain, and that's a minimum of 40%. Any additional rev excel cancel used here will cost you 10%. Now, this can add up really quick, and I highly advise you to learn your combo routes properly to avoid overheat as much as possible. Think of this as almost like Roman cancels from Guilty Gear or Drive Rush cancels from Street Fighter 6. You can use this to extend combos, pressure safely, or stay close to your opponent. Rev Blow. A powerful, infinite armor attack that consumes 17% of your rev gauge and is only available while SPG is active. Think of this as a surprise attack that your opponent needs to be ready for and can be used in the air or on the ground. Obviously this move has armor, it hits hard, and it can go through opponents' attacks. It can even crumple the opponent on a counter hit, allowing for a full combo. It's not invincible, however, it does carry risks. It can be dodged or rev blowed back, but it is safe on block. It may be tempting, but don't use it too often or you may burn through your rev gauge pretty quick. Think of it as this game's answer to SF6's Drive Impact, and you should only use this if you have a good read on your opponent's attack patterns. Be careful though, as you can only use this while you're in SPG, so they may be looking out for it. Rev Guard. When you block while holding the Rev Guard button, you enter Rev Guard mode. If you successfully block, the rev gauge builds up, you take no chip damage, and the opponent will be pushed back more when you block. Use this when you can't afford to take any more chip damage or need to push your opponent out on block. Be careful though, as this does still lose to throws. Another thing to take note of is the extremely powerful but also advanced defensive techniques, Just Defense, Hyper Defense, and Guard Cancel. I wouldn't worry too much about these if you're just starting out, but it is important to know about. Just Defense is when you press block at the perfect time to guard an opponent's attack. Benefits of this are a slight health increase, reduced rev gauge, and the chance to perform a guard cancel. Hyper Defense is useful for multi-hitting moves. Normally block the first attack, then tap forward with the right timing to perform this. The effects are the same as Just Defense. Guard Cancel is what you can do after performing either of these techniques. Perform a special move, rev blow, or any of your super attacks to cancel your block and turn the tables on your opponent. Guard cancelling into a super will give a 0 frame message and pretty much guarantee it to hit, so keep this in mind. This also costs rev gauge, so be careful about your meter. Of course, if you're just starting out, this may seem very complicated, so don't worry too much about it. You probably won't even see this outside of high level play, to be fair. The final thing I will mention is recovery and attack states. Outside of certain moves which cause a hard knockdown, you have 5 different ways to wake up or recover. Neutral wake up by pressing nothing. Short roll back by holding back and light punch. Far roll back by holding back and heavy punch. Short roll forward by holding forward and light punch. And far roll forward by holding forward and heavy punch. Keep your opponent guessing and don't get predictable. Finally, you have attack states. You can hit your opponent, sure, but you may notice different effects from time to time. Counter hit is when you hit the opponent during the startup of an attack, and can be used to catch players who attack often off guard. This provides additional benefits such as more frame advantage to allow for juicier combos, and some moves may even crumple the opponent for a full combo on counter hit. Just explore with your character and see what you can find. Wild Punish is when you hit your opponent during the recovery of an attack and can provide for some huge damage opportunities. Landing a heavy button as a Wild Punish will crumple the opponent and give a great chance to strike. Keep these in mind, as you don't want to leave yourself open to one of these big damage opportunities. Remember, fighting games are all about risk reward, so choose your attacks wisely. Okay, that's about it for the controls and the mechanics. Learning a new fighting game can be a bit overwhelming, but believe me, having the knowledge of how this stuff works makes understanding how to improve so much easier and way more streamlined. I just wanted to compile an easy to reference guide that explains all this stuff. It won't make you a pro right away, but the tools are there for you to start your journey to being a strong player. Always try to play against people around your own skill level, whether that be offline or online, and remember to use training mode regularly to hone your skills in order to improve. Using the features like record and playback are invaluable here when it comes to learning how to deal with certain moves or strategies. My channel usually aims content at more experienced players, but on release of a big game like this, it's always nice to make new players feel welcome and teach them the ropes. I'll be putting out more beginner friendly content soon, so keep an eye open for that. I'm usually streaming over on Twitch, so pull up and join the fun as we celebrate the launch of City of the Wolves. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Tyrant out of here.